The car starts on the third try again. You sit there with your hands still on the key. You tell yourself you're letting the engine warm up. Really, you're just waiting to find out if today is the day it finally dies. It doesn't die. Not today. You put it in reverse. You go. This is level 1, not a place anyone chooses. A place the math puts you. The car is 14 years old. The paint on the hood has oxidized in a patch near the center. Not rust yet, just the color of something that used to be cared for and isn't anymore. The driver's seat has a crack in the leather on the left side, worn into the specific shape of the person who gets in and out every single day. That shape is yours now. The check engine light has been on since March, not this March, last March. You put a piece of black electrical tape over it, not to fix it, just to stop seeing it every morning before you've had coffee. The mechanic, quiet man named Dwight, handshake of someone who stopped being impressed by things a long time ago, told you it was an oxygen sensor. $420. You said you'd come back. You haven't come back. Every time you brake, there's a sound. Soft, the kind only you can hear because you're the only one in this car every day, and you know what it used to sound like. 6 weeks, you've been meaning to get that looked at. The air conditioning works when it wants to. You've stopped having opinions about this. Here's the thing, nobody tells you about this level. The car isn't the worst part. The worst part is the parking lot. New job. First week. You pull in on Monday morning. Open spaces near the entrance, easy right there. You drive past them. Go to the back, park in the far corner, spot against the fence, nobody else nearby. You do this before you've thought it through. You walk to the building from the far end because you don't want your new manager looking out the window and seeing what you drove in. You want a head start on being someone before the car gets to say something first. Nobody taught you this. You just learned it. One morning, it rains. Hard. You walk from the back fence to the front door completely soaked rather than park closer. You tell yourself it's fine. It's not fine. But the alternative feels worse. There's a specific math problem that runs at this level that has nothing to do with dollars. It's the math of how much energy you spend managing what people might think. You park far. You deflect questions about what you drive. You arrive early so you can be already inside before anyone sees you get out. None of this appears on any statement, but it costs something every single day. The car costs money on the receipt. The embarrassment costs something the receipt doesn't show. And the receipt is the easier part to fix. You get a raise, $600 more a month before taxes, lands as $387 after. You don't fix the oxygen sensor. You start thinking about what a different car would feel like. Not better, just different. One that doesn't need a third try. You wear a different shirt on the day you go to the dealership. Nothing special, just not the one with the stain near the second button you've washed 15 times and it's still there. You pick the clean one, the one that fits better. You do this without deciding to. The lot is bright. Rows of cars in the sun, each one cleaner than anything you've owned. A man named Ray walks out before you finish parking, not running. The specific speed of someone who knows exactly how fast to move. He shakes your hand. Practiced. Firm enough for confidence, loose enough for warmth. He has done this handshake 10,000 times and it still feels personal. You tell him $15,000. He nods. Says absolutely. Says let me show you a few things. Starts walking. The first car he stops at is priced at $18,500. You look at the sticker. You look at him. He says the financing makes it very manageable. $340 a month. You do the math the way people do when they want the answer to be smaller than it is. $340 a month. Not so bad. Completely manageable. You don't do the other math yet. That math happens later. In the dark. You say okay, paperwork, 40 minutes, small office, man who is not Ray, printer that doesn't stop, pages across the desk, you sign, 9.9% APR. 60 months, $340 a month. You sign quickly. You've already decided, and slowing down means thinking too hard, means not signing, means staying in that parking spot at the back fence. So you sign, drive home is good, clean seat, clean smell, air conditioning that comes on immediately, fully, without negotiating, music through speakers that work. This is what it's supposed to feel like. That feeling lasts about 3 weeks. Then the first payment comes out, $340, withdrawn automatically on the 14th. You watch it leave in the app. Quietly. The way things leave when they've already been decided and there's nothing left to discuss. 57 more of those. Tuesday night. Can't sleep. You open the calculator, plain calculator, no history. 340 times 60. $20,400. For a car you bought for $18,500. $1,900 you paid for the arrangement of not having the money when you needed it. The interest isn't punishment. It isn't personal. It's just what the gap costs, the gap between what you have and what you want. You put the phone face down. You don't open the calculator again that night. What you bought at this level wasn't a better car. It was distance from the old one. Distance from the back of the lot. Distance from the tape over the check engine light. Distance from Dwight's quiet exhale before he tells you the number. Every 14th, the account goes down. The account goes down by $340. Distance isn't free. The car is gray, metallic gray, darker in shade, almost silver in sun. You spent longer choosing the color than reading the contract. $31,000, $455 a month, 60 months. New. Monday morning, first day driving it to work. You take a space near the entrance, not the closest, but not the back fence. Somewhere deliberate. You press the key fob, lights flash once, clean sound, something secured. You walk toward the building. Nadia's at the window on the second floor. You see her from the lot. Her eyes move across the lot, find the gray car, move up to find you walking away from it. You see this happen. You look away first, but you saw. And the seeing matters in a way you don't say out loud. The first month adds up differently than expected. $455 for the car, $240 for insurance, full coverage required, $95 for covered parking. You started parking there 3 days in because you drove past an uncovered spot in a hailstorm and your stomach made the decision before your brain did. $790 a month. Before gas. Before maintenance. Before the registration renewal you forgot was coming. For something that sits still 22 hours of every day. You run that number late one night and then close the app fast and open something else. Because the math is doing something to the feeling you've been carrying since the lot, and you're not ready for those two things in the same room yet. Sunday dinner. Your father comes outside when he hears you pull in, stands on the front step, watches you park. The way men of his generation look at things that cost money. Not impressed, not critical. Measuring. How much a month? $455. He nods. The nod that means he heard you and has a thought and is deciding whether to say it. He doesn't say it. So you explain. Good rate. Holds value better than competitors. Made sense to go new because of the warranty, because of the reliability, because he's still nodding. You explain 30 more seconds after the nod stops. Your mother calls from inside. Dinner. You're still building the next part of the explanation while passing the bread. You are not explaining to your father. You figured that out on the drive home. Here is the thing about this level that is dangerously true. A new car can temporarily fix a level of insecurity that your personality wasn't ready to solve yet. It works. For a while. The parking spot moves. The nod from strangers happens. People at work notice. Some treat you slightly differently. Slightly. And the slight difference feels enormous because you've been invisible for a long time. The dangerous part isn't that it doesn't work. The dangerous part is that it does. Just not permanently, and not cheaply. The car is a reply, to everyone who saw the old car, to your father and his nod, to Nadia at the window, to every version of you that parked at the back fence. It's your answer to a question nobody asked out loud. And answers to unasked questions are the most expensive things you can buy, because the question keeps changing, because the person you're trying to convince keeps moving the standard. $455 for the car. The rest doesn't have a line on the statement. 14 months in, you do the full calculation, everything. Every dollar that left because of this vehicle. Then you do the other calculation. How much of that is still in your savings account? None of it. Savings account hasn't moved in 14 months. The car is in perfect condition. You type one sentence into the Notes app, delete it. The sentence was, "What am I actually building here?" The logo is small, quieter than you expected, doesn't announce itself, just sits there knowing you already know what it means. BMW 330i, white Alpine. You tell yourself you're buying it for the engineering, the driving feel, the resale value. None of that is wrong. None of that is the whole truth either. No ray this time. No fluorescent lights. Woman named Claire. Measured pace. Never says cheap or expensive. Makes everything feel like a reasonable decision that reflects well on your judgment. 3 years of on-time payments, and suddenly the bank talks to you differently. Better rate, better terms. The file changed. That's all it was. You drive out and the car moves like it's on rails. You understand for the first time what people mean when they say driving feel. First service, leather chairs, 2 kinds of coffee. Brake fluid flush recommended. $140. You say sure without asking how urgent it is. Back at Dwight's place, you would have asked 3 questions and probably left without doing it. Here you say sure. Total invoice, $285 for an oil change and a fluid flush. You tap your card without looking at the number. You notice this, the not looking. File that away. 1 tire blows on a Wednesday, run flat, directional, dealer only, $420. 1 tire, more than your first car's monthly insurance. You pay it without calling anyone, because explaining it out loud would make it more real than just paying it. Then, the roads start changing. The route to your parents has a rough stretch. You add 7 minutes now, taking the longer way. Every visit, 7 minutes. Multiplied by visits per year, multiplied by years. The car is changing which roads you take, which means it's changing how you move through the world. That's a cost that doesn't appear on any invoice. October. Company lot. New hire 3 spots down. Mercedes GLC dark blue. First week clean. You look at the GLC, you look at your 330i. Something settles in your chest before you have a word for it. That's the tell. You go inside, get coffee, sit at your desk. The feeling is still there at 9:15. Nothing happened. You looked at a car in a parking lot. At some point people stop asking how you're doing and start asking what you're driving. You started noticing this. The car enters the conversation before you do. Sometimes people have an opinion about you before you've said a word. Sometimes that opinion is better than what you'd earn in the first 5 minutes of talking. That's useful. It's also slightly hollowing if you think about it too long. So you don't think about it too long. 3 years. Loan finished. Title arrives looking like junk mail. The question now isn't whether it was worth it. The question is what you did with the version of you who needed the badge. Whether you're still negotiating with him, that question doesn't answer itself at level 4. It just waits. The salesman doesn't call it a payment, he calls it a monthly investment. You notice this. You don't say anything, but you notice. Mercedes C300, warmer white, beige leather, screen that curves toward the driver, $780 a month, 36 months. At the end, you hand it back. Nothing, no equity. $28,080 into something that was never yours. The salesman explains this clearly. It's on every page. No secrets. You sign anyway, because $780 a month sounds like a portion of a budget. $28,080 sounds like a decision. The numbers are identical. The feeling is not. The product was designed around that difference. You start telling people you lease, casual, like mentioning a standing desk. You use the word efficient. You say it makes sense for my situation. Here's what you don't say out loud. You learned that smart people lease from a video by a guy who was filming it from his parents' house. The efficient explanation is technically accurate, it's just not the reason. Lunch. Coworker Simone sits across from you, works in something financial, internal, numbers, the way money moves through organizations. She asks about the car. You do the efficient explanation. She listens, chews her sandwich, waits. Then she says, wait, so after all this, at the end of 3 years, you just give it back? Not pointed. Just genuinely trying to understand. You start to answer. Get about 15 words in, stop, because it doesn't have a good answer. Not a bad one. Just not a good one. The kind that reveals itself when someone asks the simple version of a question you've been answering, the complicated version of for 2 years. You say you'd have to run the numbers. She nods. Finishes her sandwich. Moves on. But the question stays. Month 34. You find the lease agreement in the drawer. Mileage clause. 10,000 miles a year, 30,000 total. You open the odometer app, 34,217 miles, 25 cents per mile over. 4,217 miles, $1,054.25. Due in 38 days. You read the clause 3 times. The words were always clear. They didn't change. He just didn't read that part that way. Friday morning. You drive it back. A man walks around it with a clipboard and a flashlight. Checks every panel, every corner, crouches at the rear bumper, makes a note. You stand there watching someone inspect something you drove for 3 years, like they're evaluating whether you took care of something that was never yours. Which is exactly what they're doing, because it was never yours. You hand over the key, take a rideshare home. $29,134.25. Over 3 years. For a car you'll never see again. You don't feel angry. You feel like someone who just finished a very long sentence and is only now reading it from the beginning. That weekend. Your own spreadsheet. First car forward. Every payment. Every insurance month. Every tire. Every return fee. Second column. What that money would be today if it had gone somewhere else. The second column is larger, by enough that you close the laptop and stand in the kitchen for a while, not doing anything. Just standing. Just letting the number exist without looking directly at it. You don't tell anyone. You've learned that the moment you tell someone a financial decision before you make it, you start shaping it around what they'll think. You stop making the decision and start performing it. So this time, you just do it. Camry. 2 years old, clean service history, small scratch near the rear passenger door, only shows at a specific angle in direct sun. $26,000. You have $26,000. Not borrowed. Not stretched across 60 months. Just sitting there. Available. You transfer it. Salesperson named Beth, friendly. Slightly surprised when you say cash. Her whole process is built around the financing conversation and you just skipped most of it. She asks once about financing options. No thank you. She moves on. No second ask. Paperwork. 22 minutes. You've spent longer waiting in leather chairs. The car feels normal. Not extraordinary. Just a car that goes where you point it and costs nothing per month. Normal has never felt this specific before. Months pass before you stop checking the account automatically in the middle of the month. It was a reflex you didn't know you had until it started fading. The expectation of something leaving. The mental preparation for a number going down. You'd pick up your phone on the 14th without deciding to, just muscle memory from years of watching money leave. Then 1 month, you realize you didn't check. Then 2 months, then you stop counting. 3 weeks after the purchase. Marcus calls. You've known him since college. Same starting point, same dorm hallway 20 years ago. He asks what you're driving. Camry. 2 years old. Half-second pause. Full opinion inside it. Is everything okay? And then, not unkindly, you know you could be driving something nicer at this point, right? You say the Camry runs well? He says sure, but you could do better. You say yeah, maybe. Conversation moves on. What didn't happen is the pull. The specific pull of someone questioning the car and your instinct rushing to justify. It was smaller this time. Not galler. That's the shift. But here's the thing about level 6 that the clean version of this story leaves out. The reflex doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. 3 months in, company event, valet parking. You hand over the keys. The attendant takes them, looks at the fob, looks up, just for a half second, the way people do when they're recalibrating an expectation. It's nothing, less than a second. He's already moving, but you felt it. The old thing came back, full strength, same as the back fence, same as the explanation to your father. Just for a moment, you wanted to say something, clarify something, make sure he knew this was a choice, not a ceiling. You didn't say anything. You walked inside. But the moment was real. You know this now in a way you can't unknow. What's actually changing at this level isn't how much money you have. It's how much of your attention money requires. At level 1, money was the first thought every morning. Where is it? Is there enough? What breaks today? At level 3, money was the background hum. Payment, insurance, parking. Constant low-grade awareness that the margin was thinner than the car implied. At level 6, money gets quieter. Not silent. Quieter. Every payment you owe is a background process running constantly on your attention, quietly, continuously, draining something that doesn't recharge on a paycheck schedule. At level 6, you turn some of those off. The silence they leave behind is worth more than you expected. You run into Simone in the elevator. You tell her you took her question seriously. "Stop doing that thing." She smiles. Quiet one. The kind that means I know exactly what you're talking about. Doesn't say I told you so. Elevator opens. You both go separate ways. 30 seconds, no ceremony. But something happened months ago at a kitchen table, and again on a random Tuesday when you didn't check your account and didn't even notice until later. Simone just asked the question that pointed toward it. The Camry has 62,000 miles now. Runs the same. Oil change. 2 tire rotations. Cabin air filter. $312 total for the year. The scratch near the rear passenger door is still there. You know exactly which angle of sunlight shows it. You stopped caring about that angle a long time ago. 2 keys on the hook by the door. Different weights, different shapes, different purposes. It took 20 years to get here. That's the part that stays with you. First car, Honda CR-V. 4 years old, just gray, chosen for practicality. Small dent in the rear bumper from a parking lot somewhere, origin unknown. Cargo area has a permanent smell of the dog. Nobody looks at it when you park. That's not a problem. That's the point. It goes to work. Grocery store. Dog to the vet. Kids to practice. Your mother to her appointments on the second Tuesday of every month. It starts every time. No third try. Man named Cal near the house. Fair prices. Explains everything. Keys back same day. The CR-V costs almost nothing to think about. That is its primary feature. Second car. In the garage. Porsche 911. 11 years old. Guards red. Retired engineer 60s. 12,000 miles in 7 years. Every service record in a binder by date. You found the listing Saturday morning, called that afternoon, drove 2 states to look at it. You didn't need this car. You bought it because you wanted it, cleanly, without the machinery of status or proof running underneath. You wanted it the way you wanted things before wanting became complicated, before wanting something meant you had to defend it. You wanted it, you could afford it, you bought it, that's the whole story. Sunday morning, early. Kids still asleep. Dog found the sun patch on the kitchen floor. You make coffee and drink half of it, standing at the counter, looking at nothing in particular. Then you go to the garage. Manual door. You like the weight of it going up. Morning comes in. The 911 in the early light. You get in. The seat is low. You're sitting in the car, not on top of it. Key in. You don't start it yet. Just sit. Your daughter climbs in the passenger seat. 8 years old. Not interested in cars. Interested in where you are. She asks why there are so many buttons. Each one does something specific. Why does the speedometer go so high if you can't drive that fast? You say that's a good question. Why don't you drive this one to pick her up from school? The other car is easier for that. She looks at both keys in your hand. Why do you have 2 cars? You start the answer. Good answer, ready? Different tools for different jobs. She's already found the glove box button. You let her explore. You look at the 2 keys. The strange thing about having more is that eventually people start talking to your car before they talk to you. Old friends get a little weird. Not mean, just recalibrating in real time. They mention the car more than you expect. They ask questions that aren't really about the car. You learn to recognize these conversations. You start having fewer of them. The distance opens by itself. People who knew you at the back fence don't always know what to do with you now. And you don't always know what to do with the gap. When someone asks you about cars, now you ask them one question first. When you picture yourself in the car, who else is in the picture? Most people pause. Because if the picture has other people in it, watching, reacting, updating their opinion, then it's not really a car decision. It's something else wearing a car's shape, and something else wearing a car's shape always costs more than a car. Saturday afternoon, you take the 911 out alone. No destination. Road that opens up after the second light. Long curves. Almost no traffic. Somewhere in the second curve. Engine behind you, road arriving exactly where you expect, car responding to inputs so small you barely know you're making them. You stop thinking. Not the spreadsheet. Not Simone's question or Ray's handshake or the months of 790 going into a car that couldn't decide if it was transportation or testimony. Just the road. Just this. This is what you bought. The thing itself. For the first time. You get home. Engine off. Sit in the quiet, the particular quiet of a car just back from somewhere, ticking as it cools. Hang the key on its hook. CRV key already there. 2 keys. 2 hooks. Dog is on the couch, which is not allowed, pretending to be asleep. Your daughter is watching something in the other room. Coffee from this morning still on the counter, long cold. Everything ordinary. Everything exactly right. 4 bays. You didn't plan for 4. The house came with 2, added 2 more 3 years ago. Contractor named Porter, communicated almost entirely through nods and accurate estimates. 11 days. Invoice, handshake, gone. He didn't ask what you planned to put in there. Bay 1. BMW X5. Older model, bought used, paid cash. Car seat anchor in the second row. Charging cable permanently in the console. Reusable grocery bag behind the driver's seat that's been there so long it's structural. Nobody photographs it. Still the point. Bay 2. The 911. Same car. More miles now. Not many. You've opened listing sites twice thinking about selling. Both times closed without typing anything. It stays. Bay 3. Land Cruiser, 1994, white over tan, 312,000 miles on an engine rebuilt once documented. Previous owner drove it to Alaska twice. Has photographs. Your son asked you once what the most reliable car ever made was. You looked it up together. 4 months later, this one appeared for sale. Your son's face when it came off the transport truck, that's a thing you won't forget. It is not worth what a new car costs. It will outlive every new car you could have bought instead. Bay 4. Bay 4 has better lighting. 1968 Ferrari 275 GTB. You don't say that sentence out loud much, not because you're hiding it. Because it sounds different when you say it to someone who doesn't understand what it means. Rosso Corsa. Engine. 3-liter V12. Produces a sound when running that has no equivalent. You run it once a month. Drive it 4 times a year. The insurance is $11,000 annually. You spent 6 weeks on paperwork to get a tax classification that saved more than that. You still wince every year when the renewal comes. You still pay it. Here's what owning this car is actually like. It has a battery maintainer permanently plugged in, because if it sits too long without running, the battery drains. And you've already had that happen once at 9 at night when you wanted to take it out on a whim, and it wouldn't start, and you stood in the garage feeling slightly ridiculous for several minutes before going back inside. The garage has a dehumidifier running in summer because the humidity affects certain materials. And you know this now, the way you know things you never expected to know. When people come over and ask to see it, you say sure, and you stand near them the whole time, in a way that is friendly but also geometrically between their hands and the car. You don't say don't touch. You just stand there. They always want to know what it's worth. You give them a number, accurate. But you say it in a tone that's slightly flattened, the same way you gave Kevin a low number for the BMW years ago. Still adjusting the number for the audience. You notice this about yourself. You haven't fixed it. Sometimes you feel strange owning it. Not guilty exactly, something adjacent to guilty. Like the car deserved a better custodian. Someone with more knowledge, more history with the mark, more right to it somehow. You don't say this to anyone because it sounds insane given what you paid for it, but it's there, occasionally. Saturday morning. Same ritual. Coffee, garage, bay doors open one by one. Your son in the doorway, 17. Does this sometimes? No agenda. You hand him your coffee without looking? He drinks some, hands it back. You stand there, he asks, do you ever just take it out, for no reason? Sometimes. What does it feel like? You think about it longer than the question requires, like the first time I drove a car that actually worked. Except everything in between is also there at the same time. He looks at the car, doesn't say anything. You're not sure he understood. You're not sure you understood until you said it. Here's what happens at this level that nobody tells you. The cars stop mattering the way they used to. The thing that stays is everything before them. The third turn of the key, the tape over the check engine light, signing quickly because you didn't want to think too hard. explaining to your father 30 seconds after he stopped asking because you needed him to understand a decision you hadn't made for yourself yet. The walk from the back of the lot to the front door. Every morning. The cars in this garage didn't replace that story, they grew out of it. Every right decision and every wrong one. Every lease payment that bought nothing. Every 2 a.m. calculation. Every moment of understanding something a little more clearly than the moment before. The garage is where all of it landed. Your daughter is 12 now. She came in last week while you were doing nothing in particular. Which one is your favorite? You looked at all 4. Depends on the day. That's not an answer. The X5 on days when I need to get somewhere. The Land Cruiser on days when I want to go somewhere I haven't been. The 911 on days when I want to remember what it felt like to want something just because I wanted it. She waited. She knew you weren't done. You looked at Bay 4, and that one on days when I want to remember where I started. She looked at the Ferrari. Looked at you. That doesn't make sense. That's the most expensive one, I know. She thought about it, went back inside. That evening, you go to the garage alone. Bay 4. Open the door, sit in the driver's seat, put the key in, don't start it, just sit. Same as the parking lot. Years ago, car that needed 3 tries. Morning that looked like every other morning. Hands on the wheel, key in. The difference between then and now isn't the car. Then, you were waiting to find out if it would cooperate. Now, you're not waiting for anything. Just here, in a garage you built, in a life that came from a parking lot, from a walk that started at the back fence, from a morning a machine needed 3 tries and you sat there and it started anyway. Somewhere right now it is 6:47 in the morning. A parking lot, mostly empty. Sky between dark and light. Someone is sitting in a car that is 14 years old. Check engine light under electrical tape. Seat cracked on the left side, worn into the shape of the person who sits there every single day. They turn the key. Nothing. Again. Nothing. They wait. 3rd time. Engine catches, rough, then settles. They sit there a moment, not because they need to, because they've learned not to trust it until it stabilizes. They don't know yet what this car is. They think it's just an old car that needs 3 tries. They don't know about the quick signature, or the lease handed back on a Friday morning, or the months that passed before they stopped checking their account automatically in the middle of the month. They don't know about the 2 keys on 2 hooks. They don't know about the garage. They just know the engine is running, so they put it in reverse, and they go.